Hello, everybody. We are those guys you hate here with another Kook Alert. I am here with my brother Ryan. Ryan, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. Salutations, my Haitians. How is everybody doing today?
Wonderful. We're taking another easy weekend because I'm going on vacation and I'm feeling lazy this week.
Sure.
So what are you going to do?
Sure. Yes, Tyler is going away to, I believe, as the normies call it, Puerto Ricano. Arriba!
I think you're getting your cultures mixed up.
I'm Cuban and I'm allowed to say that.
But I am going to Puerto Rico, yes.
Arriba!
Stop
I
doing
can't
that.
help it. I'm excited for you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm very much looking forward to it. I would say travel, much like many people on this earth, travel is a bit of an addiction of mine. I love to travel as much as possible. And that was quite the segue into what we're going to be talking about this week, which is...
Well, can I say before you jump in there...
Please.
I have done a lot of traveling in my life, luckily enough. You have as well. And I don't know, sometimes traveling for me can either be so much fun or it can also be really depressing.
I think it's a bit of both, actually.
Why is that?
Well, traveling is something you really want to do with another person, and while you can go with friends and family, there's a certain dynamic there that you want in terms of, depending on where you are, you know, it's like a romantic. Like when we went to Costa Rica, I would have really loved to be there with somebody on a romantic sense to share that with.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
And all you had to do was ask, what about when we went to hedonism?
I don't remember that. So were you just spiking my drink the entire time?
Sure. Mike the Spike.
Nobody knows who that is.
Sorry for ruining your segue. It sounded pretty good. I got to be honest.
You could have just let me say addiction and then go into what you said. I was just thinking that.
I couldn't.
There was no reason to cut me off.
I truly couldn't.
We're going to be talking about addictions this week, much like Ryan's addiction to cutting me off.
I just need one more, man. I can quit whenever I want. I just think that's a fascinating component, and I do believe that there are certain people out there that when they hear you say, "You're knee off," by the way.
Damn it! Every time
that when people hear you or myself say, "Hey, there are aspects of traveling that make me sad," I think a lot of people would be like, "What are you talking about?"
I think there's a lot of people out there that know exactly what you're talking about. I think those people out there that don't know get some trauma in your lives.
We're working on it right here.
Yeah.
So, all right, Tyler, addiction. Are you pro? Are you anti?
Both. There's a part of me that's definitely pro-addiction, but then there's the other part of me that's very upset with that person.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. So basically what we do on Kook Alert is we take one specific instance, usually mental health involved, and we break it down. We have an open conversation and we, give parts of ourselves and we talk about our understanding of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much all of ourselves. That's what this entire show is based around.
We don't have anything else, Tyler.
No. So yeah, addiction, I think it's something that anybody, or almost anybody, can resonate with, which I think addiction is so prevalent that almost everybody on earth has some form of addiction.
Is there a single person on this planet with none of those traits who has no addictive behavior?
I'm worried about absolutes, so I would say, yeah, I'm sure there's somebody out there, but my guess would be the overwhelming majority of people out there
They're
have
addicted to neutral living.
some kind of addiction.
It's got a hold on them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
That checks out.
Shaking them to their core. What is the cause of addiction, Tyler?
Ooh, well, that's the conversation we always get into. Is it environmental, or are you born with it?
Maybe it's Maybelline.
Yeah.
I think just like on every single episode, we can fix that by saying it is both.
Yeah.
It is right in the middle. I think that some people have a predisposition to become addicted. I think that's a fact, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And also, I would say that in my mind, the foundation, the cause of addiction is feeling disconnected. It is not having that tribe around you, not feeling connected to a group of people. Is that too simplistic?
I think that could definitely be a factor, a main factor, but I think there's a lot of things that go into it. In terms of this, where when we talk about serial killers and we say, are these people born into this world wanting to do this, or is it the situations that they were put through in childhood? That is a very difficult conversation to have in terms of figuring out which one it is. With addiction, as you said, it is definitely both, because I have seen personally, firsthand, I'm obviously not going to name any names, but somebody who had a child, the mother was smoking cigarettes all throughout the pregnancy, and this kid was 9 years old, 10 years old, still breastfeeding because he was addicted to nicotine, and the mother kept feeding the addiction.
What?
Yeah. And
What?
It's
Okay.
a level of sadness that I cannot. I really can't give
Do
words
I know this
to.
person?
You know the family. You don't know the person themselves.
Okay. What? And I don't want to go into a ditch here. What are those conversations like? I'm down to one titty a day. Like at 9 or 10, there's conversations going into this.
Oh no, it was just him calling out mom, 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 and then she'd go into the room, and then
Now,
it's truly sad.
I'm sure that humor isn't going to help here, but is he putting little filters on her nipples?
You're right. Humor definitely did not help in any way.
I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
I won't push that any further. But the visual is funny to think of, right?
Filter on a teddy?
Sure.
Yeah.
A fipple.
Gotcha.
So that is crazy. And so does the mom understand that while she's doing this, that this is just giving her kid a dose of nicotine? Or does she just think, hey, I'm making cheap food here?
I assume she is aware of the situation, but she seemed, and I didn't really get to know her all that well.
Speaking of serial killers, that kid is one.
Oh, that's unfair. He just likes a pack of parliaments. That doesn't mean he likes to kill people.
With the recessed filter, that's terrible.
And it was done to him. It's not his fault. You know,
I agree, but that's deeply disturbing.
Of course,
what you
it
just
is.
dropped on us.
Of course,
Okay.
and it's one of those situations where, like, you know, I haven't seen them in many years. You know, is he going through middle school and high school still doing this? Like, I don't even want an answer to that.
That's deeply disturbing. In a completely different, much less vein, even people who, because of their own fear of hurting their children's feelings, just by keeping them sleeping in their bed way past the time that is, I don't want to say normal, but just the regular rhythms of life,
Yeah.
I think is fair.
And that's mentally healthy for a child.
For everybody, boundaries, not sucking my nippies
Yeah.
when you're in junior college.
And there's a certain
I said nippies.
certain nippies is weird.
Sure.
There's a certain perspective to be had, which is how much was she doing this for her own comfort? I don't know the answer to it.
It's impossible to delineate,
Yeah, of
but
course.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not, hopefully it's not a physical comfort, but just this idea of being close with your kids.
Yeah.
Same thing goes into the much more common bed thing. I just like sleeping with my kid. That's cool. You're doing them a disservice.
Yeah.
I don't, is that an addiction?
In
In some ways it is,
It absolutely can be.
Look at us.
Absolutely.
We're podcasters, man. I just realized we've been talking about this for a long time. It's on topic. Good for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's
yeah.
it, and that just goes to show you can get addicted to damn near anything.
And that is such a good point to bring up. And this is a point of conversation that we have made so many times on the show. Anything can be addicting. Anything. I mean, you can go watch that show, My Strange Addictions. You got people eating couch stuffing or deodorant.
Better than the nipple thing. I'm sorry, I'm stuck on this.
Why are you stuck on that?
What?
Why are you so stuck on that?
Tyler,
Do you have like a nipple fetish? Are you one of those kind of weirdos?
I believe
you
it.
like boobies.
I believe you're creating one. It's just the story you just told me was shocking. So,
Yeah.
okay, I'm a professional.
So that is the being born into it.
Anything that creates stimuli, those chemicals in your brain that you find to be pleasurable, it could be anything. It could be like that, what we're talking about. It could be like on Mind Strange Addiction, eating wood or whatever. You know what I mean?
Stuffing, Ryan.
Couch stuffing.
Yeah.
Stovetop.
Yeah.
So it creates those chemicals in your mind that maybe even just you, it feels pleasurable, and now you want more and you want more.
Yeah.
And addiction is where it goes to an unhealthy place.
For sure. I mean, you can even go, and I've never seen it, thank God, you could even go to those situations that are so terrible where people are doing heroin throughout their pregnancy. And now a child comes into the world addicted to heroin.
How am I going to suck your titty if you're dead? I said I was going to move on.
You did say you upped the ante.
You thunderstruck me.
You upped the ante.
You thunderstruck me, man. Like you just dropped that like it was ho hum, and now you're like, how could you be stuck on this kid smoking his mama's tat?
Please don't give me the wide-eyed stare as you're saying that. You looked right into my soul.
I'm conjugating a noun at this point. All right, so
and then you have the other side, which is somebody who gets down on their luck. They're in pain. They've lost everything. Maybe their wife breaks up with them. They lose their job. That whole, the cliche down on your luck thing.
And now you look for any sort of stimulus.
Anything whatsoever. I don't want to feel like this anymore.
And very often, it's not even an act of feeling good. It's just a numbing. It's just something, let's say TV. takes your mind off of things.
Yeah.
Social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I'm sure you're going to touch on this at some point, but technology is a worldwide opiate that seems to be running unchecked and seemingly mostly untalked about.
Yeah, the problem with addictions, we see it a lot with alcohol, although alcohol can literally kill you if you drink
Society
too much.
says it's fine.
That's what I'm saying. I think it just depends on what the rest of society, like if everybody is addicted to phones, which we seem to be, then nobody's addicted because now this has just become the norm. At least that's the way that I think we see it as a society. It's not something that's talked about because everybody is influenced by this.
My question to you is this. Are you ever out in public and you see everybody around you using your phones and you put yours in your pocket just to be a bright, shining light?
I do.
I do too.
And then it makes me sad.
And when you're uncomfortable, you pull out your phone?
Yeah, absolutely. And how can I be a bright, shining light if no one will notice me shining brightly?
Thank you. It's your face is blue just like the rest of the zombies.
Just dim your screen a little bit. You'll see a little bit of the glare off to the side.
I do that a lot. I try not to take my phone out in public as just a not even for other people, for myself.
You're the leader of a resistance, man. Yeah.
Okay. You're saying that in a dickish manner.
No, that wasn't trying to be.
Which I appreciate.
I wasn't trying to be dickish. Somebody's a little touchy today. Touchy.
It's that tit thing, man. It just rocked me.
Yeah, and that's it. I think you touched on a really good point. When we say anything can be addictions, we don't even mean substances, which obviously substances can, but what about emotions? How many people out there are addicted to their anger, are addicted to their depression? I used to define myself by my depression. When people used to ask me about myself, that would be one of the first things
it's a foundational part of you. Now, I will play the part of the audience. How could somebody be addicted to depression, something that they ostensibly don't like, that people are trying to become not depressed? How could somebody be addicted to depression?
Well, you start to allow it to define you. Like I just said, it becomes one of your foundational characterizations of who you are as a person. Where it's like, oh, well, tell me about yourself. Well, I suffer from depression. What the fuck, dude?
I don't suffer. I party with depression.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I got to figure it out.
Sure.
I have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you become addicted to it because that starts to become your identity. It starts to be who you are. And then the things that we see as making us special, those are things that we can easily become addicted to. That's why we make fun of CrossFitters or vegans, because
those fucking guys.
Let's not do that. because these are things that we define ourselves by. And now instead of just being something that we do, no, I'm a CrossFitter.
Well, and I think going back to that idea of depression, it's not just that you associate it with yourself, which of course it is that. You're also so accustomed to feeling those feelings. And by feelings are chemicals, same as drugs, that course through your body, that when you don't have them, it feels awkward. I have said many times on this show, I was addicted not only to cheating, but the aftermath of cheating. So when I was in a relationship at that time, not a cheater anymore, and relationships were normal, it felt weird to me. It felt like I was trying to crawl out of my skin, and I instinctively would cause some sort of conflict, i.e. cheating, and cause those chemicals to roil back up inside of me. I didn't see the pattern at the time that I was living, but I was addicted to feeling like shit.
That's exactly right. And a lot of people don't know you can be addicted to chaos in your life. If you grew up in a truly chaotic home where your parents were constantly fighting and then one would leave and then the next day they'd come back, of a truly toxic relationship, and that is what you know, that is what the standard has been set for you, you will find yourself entering into relationships, and as you just said, causing issues because the idea of it being smooth and simple gives you anxiety.
It feels wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this isn't it. My addiction is to feel right, which is this chaotic life. And then you add in, watch, this is so good. Then you add in the extra layer of addiction to reality TV and social media that is telling you, hey, if your significant other isn't smashing your windshield with that, you guys don't really love each other. That's not passion. That's not love.
That's right.
You guys are boring as shit.
When you were just calling your shot there, I could have sworn you were going to go back to the titty thing.
Oh, man. I have been thinking about that so much, and I wonder what that lady's doing.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It really is crazy how we're told all the time where things need to be chaotic. If you aren't fighting, you're doing something wrong. I mean, people do fight. It's a natural part of relationships. Relationships are tough. You have arguments, but
Relationships are very hard.
But the idea that you have to be in that position or else your relationship, there's something wrong, is a mental health crisis.
It certainly is. And it's being reinforced, as I said, everywhere that we look. People are addicted to insanity.
Yeah. Insanity is a good word for that one.
Sure.
And that's the thing. Yeah. And I mean, and so people turn to substances when they're really down in the luck. You never hear of somebody who is on top of the world. Like, yeah, you know, I was president of a Fortune 500 company and you know, I married the love of my life and I've everything that I ever wanted. I'm going to try heroin.
Sure.
No, that doesn't happen. People fall into these pits. I mean, maybe cocaine, because it seems like everybody up in the upper echelon of executives is doing cocaine.
Sure. And as a show, we recommend it. Like, try it at least once to make sure that you don't like it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And so you know the smell. So if you're ever in a party and you could be like, something's wrong here.
Yeah,
guys.
something's wrong.
Sure.
We gotta go. We gotta go
into that room. No, just kidding. Don't do it.
Yeah, seriously, don't do that.
Yeah, don't.
I think relationships right now, other than technology, are one of the worst addictions that you can find out there on a normal basis. Obviously, I don't mean like meth or anything like that, but people are addicted to the chaos in their relationships. People are addicted to toxic relationships. People are addicted to the sex is holding us together.
Now, is that, man, I love a good sex is holding us together.
No,
but for those first 2.5 months, oh my goodness. And then all of a sudden they draw a penis on your door in lipstick.
Ladies and gentlemen, I realize we're giving you mixed signals here, but this is primarily satire. This is truly an argument against giving into our addictions. I swear to you.
We're doing a good cock, bad cock kind of thing. So obviously this is all a joke. We're trying to take something that's serious, something that we both suffer from, and we are trying to bring a little bit of levity to it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
I don't mean just Tyler is giving you real information. I'm saying dumb shit. That's generally how the show goes here. But so my question is this. Has it always been this way with relationships? And this isn't a podcast about relationships, but you said something that's interesting. Has it always been this way, or is this something that is happening now? Is this something that was this like this in the 60s? I felt like back then people like pretended like they had good relationships.
Yeah, I think it's evolved because of technology and because of the way our society works. But I think it was an issue back then as well. As a matter of fact, I know that it was, except back then you could just leave your house, just pick up a suitcase, move to the next town, and you'll never be heard from again.
A better time.
There was no texting. There was no computers.
I'm going to my third family.
There was no, exactly. So there was absolutely an addiction to drama in families. It was just having a second family.
Sure.
Yeah, which you can't do anymore.
And I think you're right, and it's very interesting. And I always argue on behalf of conspiracies, who stands to gain from the nuclear family, as it were, not being apart or not being together anymore. But what other things can we get addicted to? I know I've chronicled on this show a million times something that is really good for you, the gym. Mm. I have weaponized it. Sure. I have used it and been at the gym at times that I should not be at the gym. I've showed up late to things with people that I care about very much, knowing that it's going to fuck them over because I'm addicted to the gym.
Yeah. Well, addiction obviously has a negative connotation for obvious reasons, but there are positive addictions. There, like you said, the gym. There's the addiction to gym, which is healthy for you, but it affects you in a negative way because it gets in the way of other responsibilities.
And that's what I'm saying. Just because something's positive, once you're addicted to it, I think that is the admitting, hey, even though this is a positive thing at its heart, I am now using it for negative. I'm using it at negative times. And the idea of even the gym, you can obviously overwork out. You can be there in a way that's not helpful for your body.
For sure. But those are two different subjects. There is addiction, which is a conversation unto itself, and then the thing that you are addicted to. So the addiction itself is a negative. That is something that affects our life negatively. That's why we call it addiction.
Yep.
But there's a significant difference between I'm addicted to fried chicken and I'm addicted to jogging. You know, there's the addiction addiction is still there.
Got to put those two together.
A little fried chicken run?
Just grease dripping down your goatee as you make it into the second mile.
At the very end, to get through the finish line, you have to slide across a water slide of grease.
Honestly, it won't be that hard. It is not going to be an issue.
Yes. So
yeah,
you can be addicted to healthy things, but the addiction will always be a negative in your life.
Exactly right. Yeah. Because if it was good, you wouldn't have the term addiction attached to it.
Correct.
You could be addicted to drinking too much water.
For sure. It would just be a thing that you do.
Yep.
You know? Yeah. So
I find that to be very interesting. And so let's what is the answer? What do you do? Let's say that you find and you identify in your life that you have some type of addiction. What is, I guess the first point is figuring that out.
Yes.
What's the second point?
Yeah. First and foremost, it should never be understated. And I'm sure all of you out there have heard this 1,000 times before. The first step to figuring out and healing from an addiction is to acknowledge that you have an addiction, which in a lot of ways could be the hardest step out of any of them.
This probably predates your time frame, but as G.I. Joe once said, knowing is half the battle.
There you go. Yeah, I used to watch G.I. Joe cartoons when I was
addicted to that shit. I love G.I. Joes,
and now
man.
you know. Yeah, it was good.
Do they still have G.I. Joes? I have not heard that in quite some time.
Yeah, they made two movies like 10 years ago.
Yeah, but that was that.
Channing Tatum was in it for some reason.
Nostalgia play of just everything has to be from the 80s,
Yeah,
you know.
That's true. The Rock was in the second one. It's pretty good. Enjoyed it. Yeah, you have to figure out that you have it and to acknowledge, to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, admit, I am addicted to blank is very, very difficult. And I think my universal answer for any of these things is, if it is within your means, therapy,
sure.
Talking to a professional.
BetterHelp.com.
BetterHelp.com. Yeah, go to BetterHelp.com/thoseguys.
And it is, and we're not doing that just as a shameless plug, which we are. But also it is truly helpful. And you say acknowledging that addiction in your life is very painful. It certainly is. But on the other side of that is the beginnings of freedom.
Correct.
It is just like learning to admit when you're wrong. Some people can be addicted to being right about everything.
Oh, yeah.
Letting go of those things, acknowledging that you're wrong, is like putting down your shield. It's really freeing. We heavily recommend that as well.
For sure. And I think that's perfect what you just said, putting it down. We normalize the way that we feel so much that when we finally get a peek at the other side of letting these things go, we realize the weight that we have been carrying, a literal weight that it feels like. And when you free yourself of that and your chest opens up and your shoulders relax, I remember when that happened to me for the first time and I was like, holy shit, I had no idea I was carrying this around with me. No wonder I'm tired all the time. This is exhausting what I'm doing.
My body's in fight or flight at all times. You just made me think of one. You know what I was addicted to my whole life and probably still am in some vestiges?
G.I. Joe?
Fucking love Channing Tatum, man. Gambit. Being cool. Yeah. Now, that sounds like a catch-all kind of word. I was addicted to being cool, and what that entailed through my prism was I was never allowed to do anything that left me vulnerable. I was never allowed to do anything that could be deemed as embarrassing by any other person on the planet. And what I figured out when I finally started changing that way that I was looking at it was, what a small cage I have built for myself. And that metaphor is the way that I had to hold my life, my thoughts, my body together was so tight, was so packed in like a charcoal turning into a diamond that I was miserable. Being cool is not worth the pain that I was putting on myself emotionally and mentally and physically, and I was addicted to that.
And with so many other addictions, you miss out on so many things, whether it's being cool or being an alcoholic. You wake up the next day and you're like, dude, I could have experienced this really cool thing with everybody, but I was busy doing this other thing.
I was blackout.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And then you got to call people and be like, yo, do I have to apologize? Have you ever done that? You ever wake up in the morning, you have to check around with people like what you did?
I grew up obviously in an age of texting, so my move was always wake up the next day, figure out how many texts I had from the night before, and then delete them before I read them because I couldn't handle the shame.
I really like that.
I could not handle the shame.
The sober denial.
Like, God damn it, this is bullshit.
I have this,
and hoping nobody brings it up the next day.
That's how you cement good relationships. That's it. Just avoid, I have this one woman in my life whom I love, and she hasn't done it in a while. But every time we would get together and she would drink hard, the whole group of people drink hard. She has this Bernie Sanders meme of him saying, I am here and I would like to apologize for the things that I did last night.
Okay.
It's something, I don't know a lot about Bernie Sanders, but I love that fried chicken though, bringing it back. And she would send it to me every morning after we would go out drinking together. And it worked as an apology.
Sure.
It was, I mean, it would make me giggle. You have some awareness of it. And now we move on.
You may have kicked my dog, but this meme is hilarious on the 30th time.
And the dog was asking for it.
Yeah, so therapy, acknowledge the problem, therapy, and even if you don't have the means for a professional, somebody you trust in your life, they may not be able to diagnose you or give you these perfect answers, but just being able to say the words out loud is a freeing experience. We know people,
it's very hard.
We know people personally who refuse to talk about certain things. There's certain things where you bring it up to them and they're like, no, I'm not going to talk about
or
that.
Or that old cliche of, hey, we don't talk about that in front of your dad.
Yeah.
There are these things that are locked behind doors in families and relationships, and that's poisonous.
Yeah. Things we grew up like that a little bit with things you don't talk about these things.
Well, it was very weird. There are some things that we just never talked about, like going to the bathroom, the most normal thing in the world, but like things like sex, wide open. We could, well, maybe I should rephrase that. Very open to talk about. So we had a very weird juxtaposition of a childhood.
Yeah, I remember a very specific situation where this woman called the house and it was like an old family friend that hadn't spoken to them in a long time. And I was the
Cheeky?
I don't remember. I was the one who answered the phone and she's like, oh, Tyler, you don't remember me, but I remember when you were a baby and blah, blah, blah. I was so young at the time. And she's like, well, how are your parents? I must have been like 11, 12, something like that. And I just not even thinking anything of it. I was like, oh, well, they got divorced and so, and she was shocked. She's like, oh, they got divorced, as any family friend would be to hear that for the first time. And then
devastated, cheeky.
And they spoke to her later on and they didn't yell at me, but they got so upset. Like, you don't share the family business. And I was shamed for just acknowledging this life occurrence.
You got a big fucking mouth, Tyler.
And that's when I got my stitches.
You're out here sinking ships.
Yeah. And it was just this thing that happened, in my opinion, not something to be ashamed of, but it was like, hey, you don't share the family business. And it's like, all right, well, it's not like I, told them you had, gonorrhea or whatever it was.
Yeah, we never told anybody that.
By the way, get your gonorrhea checked.
Our parents have gonorrhea. Now, and that is, you say that and it resonates with me because I feel like the Menendez family motto was, what happens in this house stays in this house. Mm-hmm. Was there anything that resonated more than that with you?
No, that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I don't remember them repeating anything over and over like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're obviously...
That's why we shot them.
They're obviously... they'll figure it out eventually.
The Menendez brothers.
I think there needs to be a healthy balance because everybody does need privacy. Sure. I'm not saying just divulge people's personal business, but they were divorced. Everybody that they knew personally knew that they were divorced. This wasn't some well-kept secret.
Except for Cheeky, apparently.
Well, she needs to call the house more.
Do you remember that lady?
No.
It was Tia's friend, and she was a complete nut. And one time we were driving in a sedan of some sort, I think to the Rusty Pelican for an anniversary dinner, and it started raining and thundering, and she was so afraid. She got down in the crawl space between where the legs and the front seat are.
Yeah.
And got into as if there were nuclear bombs coming.
Yeah.
And I remember as a little kid, I think I was in the front seat looking back at her, and I'm like, I don't want to ever talk to this lady again.
Yeah,
this lady is a loon.
I'm sure if the lightning bolt were to strike this car, you're safe, lady.
Yeah, you're good. She's grounded.
Yeah.
She's good. And that lady was addicted to being a kook.
Yeah. Well, and it seems like somebody I vaguely remember this person, somebody who is addicted to being eccentric and being ruled by her fear.
Absolutely.
Being ruled by fear.
And just chaos in her life.
Yeah.
You could tell that she probably what we're talking about. If everything was normal, everybody has a family member that Thanksgiving dinner, you're sitting there and everything's quiet, and then all of a sudden they just drop a bomb.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yep.
We all have that uncle.
Yeah. I cheated on your aunt 40 years ago. Never told her. Damn, dude.
She's been dead for 20 years. The hell, man?
Yeah. And that's why we don't talk politics, or at least we try not to.
Yes, we do.
Because, we very in our household,
Mom's addicted to that shit.
oh, she is, but she very rarely ever brings it up anymore.
Yeah,
It was something
because we've all stopped.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Is we know that is a hot button issue that we shouldn't talk about.
You used to be addicted to that
I
shit.
very much used to. I used to be addicted to my anger. It wasn't politics.
Sure.
It was
Totally fair.
any way that I could get it out. And now I'm like, bro, why would I want that in my life?
I'm addicted to riling up people who feel that way.
Yeah.
I really am.
Yeah.
I am. Yeah. Don't get into a political conversation with me because I don't know shit and I'm going to make you mad.
I think that's a perfect jumping off point.
There you go.
So know that we love all of you so much, and for those of you, and the tide really has turned so much over the last maybe 10 years where we can openly discuss these things and it's no longer shunned in society, generally speaking. But please,
we have understanding for people now.
absolutely. But even the talking about going to therapy was something that was, dare I say, taboo 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And now in 2024, it is something that we can talk about openly. And most people either have been through it or understand, even if they
they've
haven't.
been affected by it. Somebody in their life is addicted to something, like fucking quit it with the Farmville, my brother.
Farmville.
Farmville.
Talk about 20 years
I'm
ago.
sorry, Farmville 2. The last thing I want to throw
Even
at you here. Now, twice as farmy. Big pharma. My last thing I want to throw at you, because this is something that I struggle with. I am an addict in every facet. I am an addict. I will turn anything good into something toxic. But my question to you is, and I struggle with this, is addiction a disease?
No. A disease is something you can go out and catch. Addiction is a...
What about sickle cell anemia? You can't catch sickle cell anemia.
That's true. Yeah,
You're not black enough, Tyler.
Damn, that is always your go-to.
I don't know. It's interesting, right?
Yeah, I personally don't think of it as a disease.
Me neither.
It is simply a mechanism in our bodies. And I know this is going to sound kind of strange to a lot of people out there. It is a mechanism in our bodies that is there to keep us alive.
I'm glad we touched on this.
Yes.
I didn't even think about this, but I'm glad we did. Please explain.
It is a survival mechanism. If you ask somebody, where would you be without addiction? And they say, oh man, I would be so much happier. I would be better. And I have to say to them, no. I'm not saying who would you be healthy without addiction.
If you had never been an addict.
I'm saying where would you be if you had felt the same way you did, but did not have substances to fall back on? And usually the answer is, I would have killed myself a long time ago. Yeah, of course.
I think about that a lot. Whoever it was who said, I heard the story secondhand. That person who told you, I think it was, or Michael, but I think it was you, addiction kept you alive and it kind of turned some light on in you. You told me the story. It turned some kind of light on in me.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Without addiction, I would not be here. I would have killed myself a long time ago. The problem is...
Addicted to living.
The problem is... I'm trying to solve it. I'm going to therapy for it.
I got to go.
Dr. Kevorkian, get over here. And much like a fever, where it gets so hot in your body that it can literally kill you, addiction is there to keep us alive and protect us, but it can get so bad, the symptom could literally kill you. So it's not something that should be praised or anything like that, but I do view it as a life-saving mechanism that is telling us, screaming at us, dude, whatever you're doing right now, you're on your fail-safe. There's nothing beyond here. So if you're at this point, you need to solve this problem right now.
We just need to bring this down a notch.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's very interesting, man. And I'm glad that we talked about it. I have found this show over the last X amount of years, however long it's been, to be so cathartic. And these are things that as we just chronicled in the Menendez family household, we were taught to hide. We were taught to fake. We were taught to be surface level. Nothing against our parents. They were doing their best.
Yeah, of course.
And to come on here and to bear our weaknesses has, I think, really become a strength for us. And we still struggle with it. This isn't something that we figured out. I'm now addicted to yoga and talking about it. You probably haven't noticed.
Oh my God.
But the idea is just trying to fail upwards, make your addictions better. You know what I mean? And we're not saying fix the problem, but start recognizing how these things are negatively impacting you and what can you switch it out for? You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
What could then stand in its place? Because you've just been hitting us over the head with this religion and you're really starting to bother Tyler and I. So some people are addicted to religion, aren't they?
Are you kidding me?
Those are the worst ones. Try heroin, bro. Step up.
Please. Yeah, and that's a great point. Find healthier addictions. Don't just try to quit cold turkey from anything in your life. Try to shift them a little bit.
What are you going to put in the place of that religion, because seriously, you're driving us nuts.
Just find a titty with a filter on it.
I love
Jeez.
Jeebus as much as anybody, but dude. Yeah, so great information. Thank you for being so open and honest.
Of course. I'm sure there are people out there where if Jesus was in front of him, he'd be like, all right, can we talk about you for a little bit? Jeez.
All right, man, you're making me blush.
And let me just say to those of you out there, and this is a bit self-serving, but I also truly mean it. To those of you out there that we've been having signups on BetterHelp, those of you looking for somebody to talk to, somebody to discuss your problems with a professional, congratulations to you out there. First of all, thank you for the support. And second of all, thank you to the support for yourself.
Yeah, that's been beautiful. And hopefully us making fun of each other and smoking titties with filters on the nips helps somebody in some way that shows, hey, if these two schmucks, and I say that lovingly, could do it, anybody could do it. And hopefully that's at the base of this thing. We're not better than you. We're probably worse. And we're doing it.
Yeah.
You can do it too, and we're here for you.
We are lovable schmucks.
We are.
Yes. And just know that we love you. And if you do need somebody to talk to and you feel like you don't have anybody in your life, write into us. We would love to hear from you. We are here for you.
100%.
Yeah. So with love, we are those guys you hate.
Be kind, or we'll smoke you.